Welcome 102 students back to another lecture. So today we're going to be discussing Beowulf and just like our previous discussion about Starship Troopers, we're going to jump into some questions and kind of work through them to see what arguments are going to be made here in Beowulf. Okay, so like always, if you have any questions about this lecture, go ahead and post those questions to the discussion board for questions, and I'll get back to you on there. That way everybody can see the questions. Maybe someone else has your same question. We can get them answered together. Or if you would like to send me an email, I can answer that. Or if you want to bring it to my attention next time we meet in class, that works as well. So let's go ahead and jump into our first question here for Beowulf. All right, what is a formal boast? Okay, we know that Beowulf makes one of these towards the beginning of our reading, but what is it that sets this way of speaking apart from maybe other ways of speaking? So let's go ahead and just dive right into it. So when we think of the word formal, what do we think about? Maybe you think about maybe it's something that is very official, and maybe you dress up in a suit or a tuxedo, formal wear. But really, we don't want to think of it so much in that regard. Beowulf's not someone to dress up what he's going to say, so that really doesn't apply to his boast. And when we think about a boast, that's usually when we think about saying great deeds. But if we think of formal in a different way, rather having a form, then things start to make sense to us argumentatively. He is taking a boast, saying I'm going to do something, and he's making it formal. He's putting it to an ancient form, which is the formal boast. So let's look at that, and that comes to our next question. Analyze Beowulf's boast in terms of claim, evidence, and warrant. So let me pull up my camera here. I've got our familiar claim, evidence, and warrant here. And then let me get Beowulf to say his boast.
Beowulf spoke, made a formal boast for the last time. I risked my life often when I was young. Now I am old, but as king of the people I shall pursue this fight for the glory of winning, if the evil one will abandon his fort and face me in the open. Then he addressed each dear companion one final time, those fighters in their helmets, resolute and high-born. I would rather not use a weapon if I knew another way to grapple with the dragon and make good my boast, as I did against Grendel in days gone by. But I shall be meeting molten venom in the fire he breathes, so I go forth in mail-shirt and shield. I won't shift a foot when I meet the cave-guard. What occurs on the wall between the two of us will turn out as fate, overseer of men, decides. I am resolved. I scorn further words against this sky-born foe. Men-at-arms, remain here on the barrow, safe in your armour, to see which one of us is better in the end at bearing wounds in a deadly fray. This fight is not yours, nor is it up to any man except me to measure his strength against the monster, or to prove his worth. I shall win the gold by my courage, or else mortal combat, doom of battle, will bear your lord away.
All right, so that was the formal boast, a boast that has a form. And what's very nice about this formal boast is that we can analyze this form based on claim, evidence, and warrant. We'll begin to see that, is this good argumentation that Beowulf is using, or is this maybe bad argumentation that Beowulf is using? So I think of all the claims, this is probably one of the easier ones to find. So he says, "I am going to kill the dragon." Okay, this isn't too surprising, right? This is Beowulf. This is what he does. He kills unkillable monsters. What evidence does he give? Well, he gives what he has done in the past. He says, I killed Grendel. Okay. He also killed Grendel's mother. Okay, I killed Grendel's mom, right? And so those are the evidence that he gives. He's saying, because I did those, I can do this. Now, this is a very simple means of argumentation, and it's very kind of reflective of Beowulf's time. But let's go ahead and try to figure out what that warrant is, and maybe see, is there a flaw in his argument? Let's look at the warrant. So claim is, I'm going to kill the dragon, and I've killed all these people in the past. So our warrant becomes, okay, the past is a good indication of the future. Now I want you to maybe pause the video here and kind of think, is this an acceptable warrant? Is this a good thing to assume? Then when you've decided, unpause the video and we'll go ahead and talk about it. Okay, welcome back. Many of you may have decided that this is a pretty good warrant. The past can give us insights into the future, but some of you may have perhaps also correctly come up with, what, the past isn't a very good indication of the future. For example, let me give you an example that's near and dear to my heart. I'm a big BYU Cougars football fan, and in 1984 they went undefeated and won the national championship. Now it is next season, because they did that in the past, they're going to win the national championship again. Now this you can probably see is a flawed argument, right? That was a long ago that they won that national championship. The past few seasons, they haven't done that well, okay? And they haven't done that well since then. Is killing Grendel and Grendel's mom a good indication that he can kill the dragon? Let's take take a minute and begin to think, how old is Beowulf? We know that he was a young man when he killed Grendel, and it really wasn't that much later that he killed Grendel's mom. He did these things as a young man. And we also know that he's been ruling as king for 50 years. And so he is somewhere between 70 and 80 years old. And he's saying, I'm going to do the same things that I did when I was young. This is probably a flawed argument. And should his thanes really believe that he can do this? And should we be surprised if he is not able to kill the dragon? All right, so let's go ahead and get back to our questions here. All right, so let's look at the next question. What reason does Beowulf give for fighting the dragon? Okay, when he's talking to his thanes, he tells them that I'm going to do this for the glory of winning, right? It's all about glory for Beowulf. Now, that's what he gives as a reason. Does he have more than one motive for fighting this dragon? Some of you might remember that just a little bit before the formal boast, Beowulf talks about he's plotting his revenge. Okay, is revenge different than glory of winning? I think it is very different, right? Revenge is very, very selfish, whereas glory, while, maybe even equally as selfish, is not seen in the negative light that revenge would be. Glory is you don't do bad things to gain glory, whereas revenge is usually saved for that bad connotation. What else might he be have for a motive? There's the gold. Okay, can Beowulf talk about the dragon without talking about the gold? This is a very interesting thing. Usually when he begins talking about the dragon, he goes right from, this is a worthy foe to, and he's got this gold that would be great for our kingdom. Maybe he's wanting to leave his people well endowed, and we'll talk about maybe a reason why he wants them to be well endowed, and is that a selfish thing or not? But perhaps the most important reason why he is fighting this dragon is it's burning the countryside, right? It's burninating the countryside, and as the ruler of his country, who is responsible for making sure that this is taken care of? He has that duty, right? If we remember back to the claim of the Declaration of Independence, right? What does government do? Okay, protect rights. Okay, what do the people do? Okay, they check the government. Okay, now in this case, who is government? Okay, it's Beowulf. Beowulf is government. Okay, he's a king, and this is very important in terms of connecting to our other things. He is the government, right? He's the king, and so it's his duty to protect the rights of his citizens. Now, those rights are being infringed, right? Houses are being burned by the dragon. and his kingdom is in disarray. Yet when he talks to his people about defeating the dragon, it's not about protecting their rights, right? It's about glory. I'm going to do this because, it would be a sure beautiful thing for me to do as a specimen of heroic masculinity, right? It's not, oh, you guys are getting toasted over here. Let me protect your rights. So really, he should be doing this for that reason, but he's kind of hiding that reason behind, I'm going to do this because I'm such a great guy. All right, let's come back over here to our questions. All right. What do you think about Beowulf's strategy for fighting the dragon? Is it a good strategy? When we think about, fighting a dragon, is it best to challenge it one-on-one? Or would it be better to assemble an army and try to, corner it and outnumber it and not put that burden on a single fighter, but rely on all the strength of the nation to destroy the dragon? Now, Beowulf is going to Beowulf, right? He's going to do this in a way that he feels comfortable. But if we go back to that boast, he says, this the way to fight this dragon isn't the way that I fought Grendel. It isn't the way I fought Grendel's mother, right? I'm going to have to use armor. I'm going to have to rely on my sword, right? And those were things that he didn't have to rely on before. So his argument of I'm going to do what I did before really doesn't make sense, because he's going to have to use an entirely different strategy than he did before. So and even he's trying to do both. He's going in with his mail and his sword, but he's going to go in alone, right? Why not use the army? Why not use the Thanes instead of saying, hey, stay safe over here and watch me defeat the dragon? Okay, I think there's definitely better strategies to fight a dragon than one man against the dragon. I mean, what happens if Beowulf fails, right? Who is going to fight the dragon then? Who's going to lead the people into battle? Okay, it's really strategically kind of a bad move, in my opinion. Okay, that kind of brings us to Wiglaf. Okay, what kind of man is he? Right? What deeds has he done? Well, we really don't know much about him until we get to this portion of the story. But obviously he is a Thane that is very loyal. Okay, when everybody else ran, he stayed and tried to convince the others to come back and help Beowulf. Is he obedient? Okay, Beowulf said, "Stay there and watch." Okay, Wiglaf didn't run, but he wanted to disobey Beowulf. He wanted to say he needs our help, and there is something that I value more than his word right now. I value the oath I took earlier to serve him in his need, even when Beowulf doesn't realize that he needs our help. And so really, I would say that Wiglaf is not maybe obedient to Beowulf completely, but he very much is obedient to the oath that he took to serve Beowulf, even when Beowulf is making maybe not so great decisions. So that's a little bit of about Wiglaf. We're going to look at some textual evidence and kind of flesh them out a little bit more when we do that. Okay, so that kind of brings us to the idea: what qualities make a good leader? So if we come back here to my whiteboard, okay, real quick, we can think of Beowulf. Beowulf is all about one thing, right? If this is his life, that's a pretty bad staircase there. If you can't see, here's Beowulf. He's down at the bottom. Okay, and Beowulf wants something. Okay, we can call this the cheese. Okay, up here we have a slice of cheese. Okay, this is what Beowulf wants. Okay, and this cheese is glory, right? Look at its majesty. Okay, Beowulf wants the cheese. He wants the glory, and he's going to take the most direct route to that cheese that he can, and even if that means, maybe he's not the best leader. Okay, so he's got his eyes on that cheese, that glory there. Okay, so what kind of things make a good leader? If we think about it, erase that and the cheese. Okay, something that maybe makes a good leader is someone, if you can get people to follow you, right? Now, does Beowulf have a lot of followers? Okay, he's got a lot of people who think he's pretty great, but when it comes down to it, they don't follow him into battle. He tells them not to come, but really he's got maybe one person who is willing to help him, to the end, right? And so I really don't believe that people are willing to follow him. They may be interested in him to see, will he win or won't he? But when it comes down to it, people aren't willing to jump in there and help him very much, right? Maybe we think about good leaders. They're very wise. Okay, does Beowulf have that kind of wisdom? Okay. We think about his strategy. Is it a smart decision to try to attack the dragon all by himself? Things like that. What are some other qualities? One thing that I really highly look for in a leader is respect. Okay. And respect is kind of a two-way street, right? Does Beowulf respect other people, and do other people respect Beowulf, right? And I think you might be able to say people really respect him because of the things that he did, against Grendel and Grendel's mother, ruling the kingdom for 50 years. But, is it really respect? We think about, here's Beowulf. Okay, he's a big guy with a big stick, right? And, no one dares attack him, okay? And so we have, a normal person here, okay? With a little stick. They don't want to attack him, right? There's that kind of fearful respect. And does Beowulf respect the little guy? No, I don't think he does. Because that little guy can't do what Beowulf does. He takes it upon himself. I am going to get this glory because you guys can't touch it. You can't ascend that staircase to grab that piece of cheese. So I really don't think there is that mutual respectful relationship between Beowulf and his followers. So I don't think that's I don't think he's got that going for him. Okay, uh, we've got good deeds. Leaders do good things. Now Beowulf has done some good things, and we'll look at a kind of a list of his accomplishments. But what has he done other than slaying Grendel and Grendel's mother? Now, I'm not trying to say that those were, you know, not good tasks, but do we need to make this sort of person the leader, right? Are they the best for the job? And in this case, I don't think Beowulf was the best person to be king. And I even think that Beowulf knows that he's not the best person to lead the Geats. So those are just a few qualities that you could look in a leader. You've probably got your own list, and you can kind of check Beowulf against those, and then maybe do another exercise where you take Wiglaf and kind of look at how he check all the boxes for a good leader. So let's go ahead and switch back over to our questions. Okay. What qualities in a leader? Is Beowulf this good leader? And again, you might have conflicting ideas with mine. That's great, but I really don't think Beowulf is a good leader. He's an excellent warrior. Don't get me wrong. Don't confuse. Think that I'm confusing that Beowulf's not a good hero. Okay, I'm specifically making the distinction between, do we want, is he making good decisions for his people as government, with, is he this epic hero? Because he is this epic hero. I want to really like him for that. But as a leader, the more I read into Beowulf, the more I realize that he's not making good argumentation. He's hiding a bunch of stuff, and he's not acting as a responsible leader. Just kind of in that, what happens to the kingdom if Beowulf doesn't make it? Okay, who is the next king? Okay, he hasn't figured out a succession. In his 50 years of ruling the country, he hasn't named a successor. Okay, for some reason he doesn't have children. Okay, well, whether that's his own choice, or whether biologically he can't have a child, whatever. But you don't go off to war with a dragon without naming a successor. Okay, and that's just not a good thing, because if Beowulf doesn't come out of this alive, and he nearly didn't, in fact he does die, but if he's not able to kill the dragon, what's left? Okay, who's gonna step up? Okay, and that kind of makes us think, when we think about the succession, is Beowulf using the dragon to find the next person to take the throne? Okay, I think this is what he's trying to do. He's trying to see, is there a Thane that's going to can show himself that he is not only a good warrior, but a good leader, to the point where he's going to be disobedient to what I say and value the oath he took long ago more than than being obedient to me now, and show that he has the qualities to be a good leader. Okay, now this is an insane way to run a succession, but Beowulf's going to do things the way Beowulf is going to do things. And that just adds to the over-the-topness of his bad leadership, right? And so, I love that it's it's kind of set up that way. We don't know for sure that that's what Beowulf is doing, but it seems to fit the narrative that he purposefully didn't name a successor to try to find this person who would be a better leader than him, and that ends up being Wiglaf. All right. So we talked about a formal boast, a boast with form. Okay, you compare the past exploits to the current task. Okay, when I was young, I risked my life often. Okay, now he's going to do this for the glory of winning. Okay, why doesn't he want to use weapons? That's a great question, because weapons have failed him in the past. Okay, a sword wasn't much help to him in the past, and he's much more comfortable throttling people and ripping off their arms, but he can't do that with the dragon. Okay, he grappled in the past. Sword might fail him, and and weapons did fail him when he was fighting Grendel's mother. Okay. So why does he want them to remain in the barrow? Okay, this fight is only Beowulf's, but I think he's got that idea that if I can find that person who's going to be smart enough, a good enough leader to be disobedient to me and jump in and help me, then that person should be the next ruler, right? Okay, we talked about strategy already. We talked about some of the many motives he might have. We talked about Wiglaf. All right, so let's look at some textual evidence. This is the formal boast. I risked my life often when I was young. Now that I'm old, but as king of this people, I shall pursue this fight for the glory of winning. Right? It's all about the glory. And he even says, maybe the dragon won't come out, and he won't fight me. But we know that doesn't happen. Okay, I would rather not use a weapon. Okay, because he is more comfortable using his hands. Okay, he did about Grendel in the past, but he is resolved. He's going to do this, and he even says, "You know what? I'm not going to hear any other arguments." He knows that his arguments are faulty, right? He knows that what he did in the past isn't a good indication of what he's going to do, and so he cuts it off quickly and says, "You know what? I'm not going to hear any more arguments." Okay. Stay here, stay safe. This is where I think he's planting that seed of, let's see if someone is smart enough and a good enough leader to disobey me and jump to my side, right? And again, he can't mention this task without coming back to the gold, right? I'm going to win this gold, but it's all about the glory. But it's also about the gold. So he keeps reminding everybody about the gold. Okay. We come down here. We've got some fighting. Okay. Okay, and this is where we get into Wiglaf. Okay, no help or backing was to be had then, and from the highborn comrades, that hand-picked troop broke ranks and ran for their lives to the safety of the wood. So right here we see that this is not just a little randomly picked group of warriors, right? Beowulf handpicked these people. He's like, perhaps these are the people that might be good people to rule the country, and let's just test them. Let's put them to the test to see which one jumps in and helps me. But all but Wiglaf ran for their lives and into the safety of the woods. Okay, Wiglaf, remembered the bountiful gifts bestowed upon him. Right, this were-geld that was given to him to say, hey, you know what? You're my man. I give you these things, and you are in my service now, and I will require you to do things when it's necessary. So he's looking for that person to jump back in and remember that promise. Okay, he could not hold back. okay, because he remembered his oath. Okay, here's the speech that Wiglaf gives. Okay, remember when the mead was flowing. Remember those good days when we gave our promise that we would be worth our price. Okay, he gave us the war gear, the best gifts. Okay, all sorts of things, and you know. He even takes a little jab at Beowulf here. Okay, you know, a man unequaled in his quest for glory, right? You know, he's it's almost like he's saying, you and I both know Beowulf, and Beowulf's gonna be Beowulf because he sees that cheese. He's got to go after the cheese. It's crazy, but he's got to do things his way. You know, unequaled in his quest for glory there. So, you know, and he's, you know, it's time to give our support. Let's go to him and help him with the flames. Okay, and if we are, if our, he would rather have his body be robbed by the burning blaze with his gold giver's body, okay, than to go back still holding his sword, right? Okay. When he gets to Beowulf, he says, "Hey, you know what? That formal boast, you're really not going to do it alone. But you know, go ahead. I'm here. Go do all the things that you said you were gonna do, right? And you know that your name and fame be not dimmed while you still live." Okay, so Wiglaf knows that, you know, Beowulf is trying to do this crazy thing, and he says, you know, go ahead, go do it. We can do this together. And you know, even though I'm helping you with this, you know, it won't dim your name. You know, fight, fight, fight. Okay. Okay. Beowulf is struck down. The poison is in his veins, and you know, all of a sudden he's remembering. Oh yeah, and I haven't named a king because you know this is the time when I would want to do it. Actually, if you were a good king, you probably would have settled this long ago. But we'll let Beowulf be Beowulf, and you know, he wants to give the kingdom to Wiglaf because he doesn't have a son. Okay. For 50 years, I ruled the nation. This is where we get kind of a list of the things that Beowulf does, and it's kind of interesting because we can look at this list and say, you know, is this really a list of great leadership decisions, or is this something else? Is he trying to pass off what he did as good leadership when really it's not? So let's take a look. So for 50 years I ruled this nation. No king of any neighboring clan would dare to face me with troops. Right? No, none had the power to intimidate me. And really, this comes back to that respect thing. Do these clans respect Beowulf because he's a great statesman? Because he you know, is a fair ruler. He, you know, makes treaties and alliances. Not really. They fear him because he is big and he is powerful. You know, is that what a leader is? Is a good leader just the biggest and the most powerful? Okay. He also says, "I took what came." That's that one little phrase in there really makes me say, you know what? He wasn't proactive. He wasn't a proactive ruler. He didn't go out and do things. He just kind of took what came. And I kind of like to do a football analogy here. So when you're we've got some X's here. So those are some linemen. Okay, we've got a quarterback. We've got some wide receivers. Okay, and then defense. You've maybe got some defensive linemen, some middle backers, a safety over the top. And where do you want to play your defensive backs? Right, these are the people that are gonna stay with the speedy wide receivers. Right, from what Beowulf's saying, he's kind of saying that I'm gonna play my defensive backs, you know, way out here, okay, and they're gonna take what the offense gives. We're gonna give them that space. Whereas, depending on the situation, and if you've got really good corners, it's better. If I can erase these corners, it's probably better to be proactive and have your DBs right up with your receivers. Really take them on and say, you know what, instead of giving you and taking what comes, I'm going to make them work for every yard, right? And so I like I feel like that, football analogy really shows what Beowulf is saying here. I played it safe. Okay, I took what came. I cared for and stood by things in my keeping. Okay, that's okay. Okay, never fomented quarrels. Okay, it's kind of easy not to do that when everybody's scared of you. Okay, I never swore to a lie. This is the one that really irks me the most, when he says that he never swore to a lie. Now, when isn't a formal boast a way of swearing that you're going to do something? And the reasons he gives and the argumentation, that's, I know Beowulf thinks that he never swore to a lie, but the whole thing with the boast is very fishy to me, right? Is that a lie, or is that just not telling the whole truth, right? And this last part is another part that really gets me thinking, oh boy. And all this consoles me, doomed as I am and sickening to death. I did an okay job, and this really consoles me while I'm on my deathbed, right? He gets done saying what he's all done with the kingdom, and then there's the gold again. Yeah, I want to continue. I want to examine the gold. So I did all these great things for the kingdom. Now I want to look at the gold. Right? It's all about the glory. It's also about the gold, but it's mostly about the gold, and mostly about the glory. Right? Okay. And so he wants to see the treasure. I love the description about the treasure, because it's not as good as the expectation, right? It is packed with goblets and vessels of the past, but they're tarnished and corroding. Okay, it's not a great treasure. Okay, rusty helms all eaten away, armbands everywhere, artfully wrought. So there are some armbands there. But he goes into how easily treasure buried in the ground, gold hidden, however skillfully can escape from any man. So the treasure even isn't that good. And so it's amazing that he went through all this, and every time he mentions the treasure, and then it's not that great. And maybe this is a commentary that maybe Beowulf is a little bit like this treasure, right? It's great for telling a story. Oh yeah, there's this great big treasure. Beowulf is such a great hero. But when you start examining what it is, it's a bunch of old, rusty, tarnished, corroding stuff. And so I think that the treasure is kind of allegorical for maybe Beowulf. It's great as an idea, but if you try to make it practical, it's going to be not as good as you think it is. All right. Again, the treasure comes into it. I leave my people so well endowed when I die. Okay, that's great. Uh, you did your thing. You got your glory, and you also got the treasure. Okay. Now I buttered my last breath to own this fortune. Again, no more talk of the glory. Okay, it's all about the fortune now, and to look after their needs. I can hold out no longer. And then he starts talking about what he wants Wiglaf to do for him. Okay, order my troop to construct a barrow. So when we think of in terms of legacy, usually when a person dies, it's not up to them to decide what their legacy is going to be, right? Isn't that the duty of the people that that survive, right? To honor that person, and them they come up with the idea of, okay, let's build Beowulf this great big barrow, but instead Beowulf is taking it upon himself because he's Beowulf, he can do these sort of things. Build me this great thing, this great building. Okay, near the coast, after my pyre is cooled, make sure you wait a respectable time, right? And it will loom in the horizon and be a reminder among my people, and that when ships sail by, they'll say, you know what, that Beowulf guy, he did some great things. Yeah, this is Beowulf's dying wish here, to be remembered as a great person. Okay, and I believe that is our last bit of textual evidence that I wanted to take a look at. What do you guys think? Do you think Beowulf is a good leader? Obviously, you can have your own opinion. You can look for textual evidence in here and try to find those instances where he is a good leader. You're free to do that, but be mindful. Try to look for instances in the text where he is shown as a good leader. Do you think that Beowulf tried to set up Wiglaf to be the next king? Was it all a clever plot to try to find a successor? So those are things you might want to explore. Again, if you have any questions about this lecture, go ahead and post them to the questions discussion board, or email me, or talk to me next time we're in class. All right. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.